There is a color your brain invented. It does not exist in the physical world. It has no wavelength. No light produces it. It cannot be measured by any instrument ever built, and yet you can see it clearly. Scientists call it a non-spectral color. Your brain generates it because it cannot handle a gap in its model of the world. So it fills the gap, it makes something up, and then it shows you that something as if it were real. Your brain does this constantly, with color, with sound, with memory, with everything you think you're experiencing. The question is, what else is it making up? Most people assume the brain works like a camera. Light enters the eye, the brain processes it, and you see the world as it actually is. A faithful recording, a live feed, reality streamed directly into your consciousness. That is not what is happening. Not even close. Your brain receives about 11 million bits of information every single second from your senses. Sight, sound, touch, smell, taste, all of it flooding in at once. And your conscious mind can process around 50 of those bits per second. The rest, your brain decides for you. It filters, compresses, predicts, and fills in. What you experience as reality is not a recording of the world. It is a heavily edited summary, a highlight reel your brain assembled and handed back to you as if it were the raw footage. You are not watching the world. You are watching your brain's best guess about the world. And your brain has been doing this so quietly, so seamlessly for your entire life that you have never once noticed the edit. Here is how deep it goes. Right now, there is a hole in your vision, a place where your eye has no photoreceptors at all, the spot where the optic nerve connects to the back of your eye. Scientists call it the blind spot. It is not small. If you held your thumb up at arm's length, your blind spot is roughly the size of your thumbnail. You cannot see it, not because it is invisible, because your brain erases it. Every moment of every day, your brain takes the information from around the blind spot and uses it to paint something in. A seamless patch, a guess about what's probably there, and it does this so convincingly that you have lived your entire life with a hole in your vision and never felt a thing missing. The world you see is not the world. It is the world with the gaps filled in, and your brain doesn't tell you where the gaps are. Now think about sound. In a noisy room, you can follow a single voice. Scientists call it the cocktail party effect, and for decades it seemed like proof of how powerful human attention is. But here is what is actually happening. Your brain is not filtering sound in real time. It is predicting it. It builds a model of the voice you are focusing on, the rhythm, the pitch, the patterns of speech, and it uses that model to reconstruct what that voice is probably saying, even when the raw signal is too noisy to hear clearly. You are not hearing the conversation. You are hearing your brain's prediction of the conversation, which is why, in a loud room, you sometimes hear someone say something they never said. Your brain made a confident guess, filled it in, and presented it to you as heard. Your ears didn't lie to you, your brain did. But it goes further than perception. It goes all the way into the past. Ask someone about their most vivid memory, the one they would swear to in a courtroom, the clearest, sharpest, most certain thing they remember. That memory is probably the least accurate one they have. In the 1970s, psychologist Elizabeth Loftus ran a series of experiments. She showed people footage of a car accident. Afterward, she asked half of them, how fast were the cars going when they hit each other? She asked the other half, how fast were the cars going when they smashed into each other? One word, that was the only difference. The people who heard smashed reported the cars going significantly faster. They were also far more likely to remember broken glass at the scene. There was no broken glass. There was no broken glass in the video at all. A single word planted after the fact rewrote what people saw with their own eyes. Every time you remember something, you are not replaying a recording. You are reconstructing it. Your brain pulls fragments from storage, assembles them into a narrative, fills the gaps with what probably happened based on what you know now, and hands it back to you feeling completely real. And in the process of remembering, you subtly rewrite it. The memory that comes back is slightly different from the one that went in. Do that enough times, and the memory you are most confident about has drifted the furthest from the truth. The memories that feel like bedrock are the ones your brain has edited the most. Now here is where it gets genuinely uncomfortable. This is not a flaw. Your brain is not broken. It is doing exactly what it evolved to do. 11 million bits per second is too much. No brain on Earth could process all of it in real time, so evolution built a shortcut, a prediction engine, a machine that learns patterns, builds models, and uses those models to guess what is coming before it arrives. And most of the time it works brilliantly. You catch a ball before you consciously calculate its trajectory. You read a sentence even when half the letters are missing. You recognize a friend's face in a fraction of a second across a crowded room. These are not accidents. These are the same prediction engine running perfectly. The problem is that a prediction engine is only as good as its model, and the model was built from your past, your experiences, your expectations, your fears, which means your brain is not showing you the world as it is. It is showing you the world as you expect it to be. And when reality doesn't match the model, your brain doesn't always update the model. Sometimes it just edits reality instead. Scientists have a name for this. They call it predictive processing. processing. Your brain is not waiting for information from the world and then reacting to it. It is constantly generating predictions about what it expects to experience next, sending those predictions down to your senses and only paying attention to the difference between what it predicted and what actually arrived. The signal your senses send up to your brain is not, here is what is happening. It is, here is what you got wrong. It is your brain's prediction, corrected by the small percentage of incoming information that didn't match what it expected. Think about what that means. What you call reality is mostly your brain talking to itself. The world outside is just there to correct the errors. And if your brain becomes too confident in its own model, it stops listening to the corrections. That is not a thought experiment. That is what happens in psychosis. That is what happens in certain types of depression. That is what happens when the prediction engine becomes so certain of its own version of reality that the actual world can no longer get through. And then there is the strangest part of all of this. In 1983, a neuroscientist named Benjamin Libet wired up volunteers and gave them a simple task. Move your wrist whenever you feel like it. Watch the clock. What he found disturbed him for the rest of his career. The electrical signal in the brain that initiates movement, the readiness potential, appeared a full 7/10 of a second before the volunteers reported deciding to move. 7/10 of a second doesn't sound like much, but in brain time, it is enormous. Your brain had already committed to the action before you were aware of choosing it. You felt like you made a decision. The signal in your brain told a different story. The decision had already been made. You were just the last one to find out. You weren't the author. You were the audience. Libet spent years trying to find a way around this. He proposed that maybe consciousness doesn't initiate action, but can veto it, a kind of free won't instead of free will. Other researchers have argued about the methodology ever since, but nobody has made the result go away. And if your brain is making decisions before you're aware of them, packaging them up, and then presenting them to your conscious mind as choices you just made, what exactly is the you that is doing the choosing? Here's the part nobody talks about. You are not the one watching reality and reacting to it. You are the story your brain tells itself about what just happened. A narrator, not a driver, a passenger who has been handed the wheel and told they're in control. Your sense of being a continuous, unified self, the feeling that there is a you that has persisted from childhood to right now, making decisions, experiencing things, building a life, that too is a construction. A narrative your brain assembles from fragments and presents to you as solid ground. Neuroscientist Anil Seth calls it a controlled hallucination. The experience of being you in a body, in a world, is your brain's best guess about what is out there and what is in here. A hallucination that happens to be shared. We call it reality because we all happen to be running roughly the same version of it. And when someone's version drifts too far from everyone else's, we call that a break from reality. But the baseline was never reality to begin with. It was always a model. So where does that leave you? Your brain edits your vision without telling you. It rewrites your memories every time you access them. It makes decisions before you're aware of making them. It shows you a world built from prediction and expectation rather than raw truth. And it constructs the feeling of being you from the same unreliable materials. None of this means you should panic. Your brain's model of reality is extraordinarily good. Good enough to have kept your ancestors alive for hundreds of thousands of years. Good enough to get you through today. But it is a model, and models have blind spots. The beliefs you are most certain about are the ones your brain has reinforced the longest. The memories that feel most solid are the ones most quietly rewritten. The version of yourself you carry around, the story of who you are and how the world works, was assembled by a system that filters 11 million bits of information down to 50 and calls it the truth. Think about what you have been certain about in your life that turned out to be wrong. Not a small thing, a big thing, a thing you would have sworn to, a thing you built decisions around. Your brain was not lying to you then. It was doing its job, giving you the most useful model it could build from the information it had. But the model was wrong, and you couldn't see it until something broke through. The ancient Greeks had a word for it, aletheia, usually translated as truth, but the literal meaning is closer to unconcealedness, the world revealing itself, the veil being pulled back. They understood something we keep having to rediscover. Truth is not the default. Concealment is the default. Your brain is not built to show you reality. It is built to show you a version of reality useful enough to survive. And for most of human history, that was enough. But we live in a world now where the gap between the model and the truth has consequences, where what we are certain about shapes what we build, who we trust, what we destroy. Your brain will keep editing. It will keep predicting. It will keep handing you a finished picture and calling it the world. The only question is whether you ever stop and ask, who made this picture? What did they leave out? And what is sitting in the blind spot right now, invisible, because your brain decided it wasn't worth showing you? You have been looking at the world your whole life. You have never seen it without the edit, and you never will. But at least now you know the edit is there, and that might be the closest any of us ever gets.